Wie let erop of de burgers van de Europese Unie wel beschermd worden tegen de macht van Europa? Welkom bij Uitgelicht. Goedenavond. Mensenrechten zijn bekend, maar wat zijn de burgerlijke vrijheden precies? Welke rol neemt Europa hierin en kan ook zij hiermee te ver gaan? Vanuit de studio in Brussel is dit uitgelicht en we hebben hier aan tafel Europarlementariër Cristian Terheș namens de Roemeense Nationale Conservatieve Partij. Good evening, Mr. Terheș.
Hi, pleasure to
glad you're
be
in
here.
the studio here. Yeah. Could you tell something about yourself? Why you do this work as a European member of parliament?
I was elected in this parliament in 2019 after spending 17 years in the US and California. I served there as a priest, as an Eastern Rite Catholic priest. I also worked in business, and I was for many years involved in NGOs activities and defending human rights, especially in Romania and across the globe. So in 2019, when it was offered for me to run for the European Parliament, I accepted the offer and I pledged to the Romanian citizens that I will continue the fight for human rights and for religious freedom and democracy in the EU and around the world, and that I stay committed, I would say, to that pledge.
And it's a big parliament, 800 members. How do you find your way?
705 now.
Yeah. How do you find your way in it?
Well, I would say that I'm one of the minority voices, but despite that, I'm one of the loudest and strongest voices when it comes to defending fundamental rights and religious freedom. And I've done that especially during the pandemic. I was the one who heavily contested all those abusive measures, stopping people and blocking people and violating people's rights, in order to do certain things. The digital green certificate, the digital COVID certificate that was implemented back then. I was one of the strongest opponents of it.
Because you think that was not right? That was a big brother thing that was watching us?
Not only that it was not right, it was a matter of principles. Yeah. Because the thing that I contested was the method, not the mean. The method used, it's similar to, I'm from Romania. I was 11 years old when communism collapsed there. I still remember those dark times. And I don't want to see that kind of governmental attitude being implemented all across Europe, the kind of attitude that I saw during communism. And it created a similar precedent. Yeah. So, I'm not against the vaccine per se. If a person wants to be injected with a medical product, it should be up to that person's choice, not me as an elected official to pass laws to condition someone to be injected with a medical product. So starting from this...
on the other hand, the European Union is a civilized organization. So if there are measures, you can trust them or not.
Well, when it comes to the government, I have a tendency not necessarily to trust the government, but to verify the government. As Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify, when he used to talk to the Soviets. It's the same thing here. I don't agree that when you have people in power, they receive a blank check and they can do everything they want. We as people, as citizens, and I'm talking now not from the perspective of an elected official, but as a regular citizen, I want to know exactly what the government does, and if the government or the elected officials want to pass a law that it's affecting my rights, I have all the rights in the world to contest that. Yeah. So as an elected official in this parliament, I exercise my right, not necessarily as an MEP, but as a citizen, because all those measures affected me as well. Yeah. It affected me, they affected me when I had to travel back and forth from the parliament to my home country. They affected me when I wanted to enter the parliament. I was, for example, the only MEP who entered the parliament without showing any proof of vaccination, any proof of digital certificate, and because of that, I received the highest fine. And so for me, it was a matter of principles. Yeah. I did not want my mandate to be conditioned by anything except the votes that I received from my people, and eventually showing my badge that I'm an elected member in order to exercise my mandate.
Okay, but what is the main lesson we learned from the pandemic?
Trust but verify. So in other words, allow the debates to be as wide as possible. A lot of issues that more and more professionals are finding now and they have the courage to speak about now. We spoke about them a few years ago and we were labeled as conspiracies, theories and whatever, which was not true. We raised the issue of contracts, for example. What are the clauses in those contracts? Even as of today, we don't know the full version of those contracts. What are the liability clauses? In other words, who is paying in case someone gets it's injured after that injection? What are the remunerations? Who's paying? For all this? What are all these clauses that as a citizen, you have to be aware of? So we were in a situation during the pandemic where all the profits were capitalized, but all the risks were socialized. So people were exposed to these risks, not necessarily willingly, but forcibly, because if someone, for example, did not want to be vaccinated, his or her rights were restricted, severely restricted. And I think we need to learn from that lesson that we should never, ever violate the basic principles that this Europe was founded on, fundamental rights, religious freedom, and democracy. I mean, imagine what happened with the churches. They were closed. Imagine what happened, or remember, not even imagine, remember what happened with the hospitals. People could not go even in hospitals unless they were either tested or vaccinated, which is absurd. It happened in my case. We were a delegation, an official delegation from the Petty Committee in northern Italy in order to see what happened, and how the pandemic started there. And when we tried to enter a hospital and speak to the doctors, we were asked if we were vaccinated or not. I said, no, I'm not, and I was not allowed in the hospital, which is totally absurd. But so I asked them, what about if I'm a person, that I need treatment? Well, then.
Okay, let's go to another subject, the Middle East. The problem seems getting bigger and more complex every day. What was your initial response after October 7th?
Well, what happened was at the beginning of September, I was in Israel because I wanted to go and see with my own eyes what was happening, especially in the West Bank. I found out about the European money, that a lot of the money that the European Commission is paying to the Palestinian Authority and to UNRWA are used to print books that are inciting hatred towards Jews and teaching the Arab kids how to kill Jews and how to hate Jews and all that stuff. And I said, well, if that's the case, I gotta go and see it with my own eyes. And that was true. I found books. I brought those books back in the parliament. So I was able to speak with many people, Jewish people, Arab people, Palestinians from that area. And talking to them, I realized that the solution for that area, it's exactly to copy the European model. Peace through prosperity. Trump, for example, came with an idea to bring peace first and then prosperity. But the European project proved that it works the other way around. You bring prosperity, which will, or you facilitate prosperity that will bring peace. In other words,
you have to embed it.
You have to, exactly. So I talked to business owners. I give you an example. A business owner from West Bank, a Jewish guy who hired a lot of Arab people, both men and women. And I was shocked to see that in the same room, Arabs work with Jews, there was no problem. Arab women work with Jewish women, no problem. And I asked the guy, where do you sell these products? And he said, look, if I would have to sell these products in the EU, I have to label them as being made in occupied territories, which is totally absurd. So we impose in the EU all of these absurd measures that are actually jeopardizing the peace process over there. The best peace process is to allow these two nations to work together, to live together, to prosper together, and then peace is going to come.
And do you blame that on the EU? Did you bring it in Parliament, for example?
I brought it in the Parliament. I brought in the Parliament the issue of the funds that were given to UNRWA and to the Palestinian Authority, and even the Commissioner on Enlargement came in the Con Committee and confirmed that hundreds of millions of euros have been paid to these institutions. And I mean, they cannot say that the money was used to directly pay books. But if we give all this money to the Palestinian Authority and they use other money that they have to print these books, you indirectly pay for these pay for these books. And I said, we need to stop this. You know, we need to condition that any money that we give to UNRWA or to the Palestinian Authority should be done before or after we make sure that no books are printed that are inciting hatred, and kids in school, you know, are taught to respect each other. I mean, I was told, and I talked to Arabs, for example, in our schools, when we send our kids to school, we learn that 1 + 1 = 2. They don't learn arithmetic that way. They learn like 1 martyr plus 2 martyrs equal 3 martyrs, for example. So imagine if you grow in an environment like that, where instead of being taught as a kid to respect the other person, you know, you're indoctrinated to hate the other person, that you will be rewarded in heaven if you kill, if you know, destroy someone else's life. I mean, there will not be peace. So we are where we are right now because for decades, exactly this aspect of education was heavily ignored. And obviously now, you know, everybody's looking and blaming one side or the other, but the actual cause is this. You have generation after generation that was indoctrinated, you know, by these UNRWA schools, you know, to hate the Jews. And then
so then there is no future.
Exactly. But this is where EU can come and actually explain them how this project was successful after the Second World War. I mean, imagine 2 nations that actually decimated each other, you know, the French and the Germans. They were able, a few years after the war, obviously, after they prayed together, you know, Adenauer and Schuman and all those, you know, the so-called founding fathers of this project, you know. I mean, that's an important aspect. But politically speaking, they were able to sit around the same table, you know, forgive each other, reconcile, and try to build a common future. It was the only way, and it worked.
Exactly.
And it started from education, from respecting the other side, you know, trying to get along. I mean,
so it starts on the ground base.
Exactly.
You tell us,
especially with the young generation. This is how Erasmus project, for example, was started, you know, and it was useful. And to be honest with you, I talked to even some ministers from the Netanyahu government, and they were very open to the idea. Unfortunately, I wanted to bring, for example, the Minister of Economy, the former mayor of Jerusalem, to the parliament actually to speak about this.
Okay.
But, you know, as I said, I was there at the beginning of September, and 30
then the war broke
30 days later, the war broke out.
Okay, I want to speak with you about this European Parliament. You're a member of the European Christian Political Movement.
ECPM, yes.
Yeah, a small group. But
it's a political party.
Yeah, why did you join it?
I'm the president of the Romanian National Conservative Party, which is right now in an alliance with the AUR party. We formed an alliance for the Europarlamentarian elections. We are 3 parties of this alliance. My party, the Romanian National Conservative Party, the AUR party, and the Republican Party from Romania. We came up with this alliance because we want to win the elections. And we will bring a lot of MEPs. I will not go into how many. That's up to the voters. But according to all the polls, you know, we will bring a lot of them. So our objective is to defend the national sovereignty and the human rights, the basic fundamental rights of all.
Okay.
But as far as the
that sounds like a difficult thing here in Europe.
Well, strangely, yes. Because Europe, here's the crazy part, you know. I mean, you cannot talk about the European project without talking about fundamental rights, religious freedom, you know, national sovereignty. I mean, the European project was not created to replace the national states. The European project was actually created, you know, to benefit the states.
Exactly.
But what we saw happening and what we see happening right now, especially under Ursula von der Leyen, they want to reshape Europe. They want to recreate this project, you know, or replace the European project with a new kind of project that is more similar to the Soviet Union than to the initial idea of the founding fathers.
But don't you feel you're fighting against windmills?
No, I think we are fighting for a good cause, and always we know that at the end, the good and the justice is going to win. And I'm very pleased by of my colleagues that are part of this, that we are forming this alliance in Romania. We are a strong team. We have the best candidates. And I am sure in June of 2024, we will win the Europarlamentarian elections in Romania.
Are the Romanian people enthusiastic about the elections? Do they come to vote?
Imagine this, because we were getting, you know, so high in the polls. Now they combine the Europarlamentarian elections with the local elections. They were supposed to be in September. So they move the local elections from September to June. They combined the two. So now a lot of people are talking more about the local issues than the European issues. But we have the chance now to find a lot of candidates, tens of thousands of people across the country to join our parties and to spread this message, what is happening in Europe and why they should elect us in order to fight for them here in the European Parliament.
In your opinion, is it important to hear the Christian voice in Europe, here also in this building?
Well, first of all, obviously it is imperative to hear that voice. Yeah. But look, even if you're not a Christian, because I'm not talking, when we talk about Christianity, I'm not talking from the perspective of a faith. That's your personal choice, and I respect your choice to be whatever you want to be, an atheist or whatever. But we cannot ignore the fact that the European civilization was based on the Christian faith and values. We cannot ignore that. Ursula von der Leyen in 2019 said it exactly in this plenary the following, and I quote, "The foundation of the European project is the Greek philosophy and the Roman law," end quote. She did not say anything about the Judeo-Christian values, but it was actually these values that made this project so great. Yeah. Because this, you will find the foundation of the basic fundamental rights exactly in these values, the separation of powers in the state exactly in these values, the proper and the correct relationship between the individual, between the person, the citizen, and the state exactly in these values. So by replacing or by pulling out or by removing the Judeo-Christian values from this project and just focusing on the Roman law and the Greek philosophy, you will find plenty of arguments why tyranny is good, why slavery is good, and we just saw that happening during the pandemic. Yeah. So we need to restore, I would say, in order to restore faith in Europe, we need to bring back the Judeo-Christian values in the public square.
Yeah. What drives you personally? Do you have, for example, a Bible verse that drives you to do this work?
I have one that says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness could not overcome it." So it doesn't matter how much darkness is out there. If you can be a little bit of light in this world, then you can be an inspiration for many people. Yeah. And in my life, I had the chance to meet a lot of people, especially people who were persecuted by communists. They are dead already, but they were able to kind of shine my way in life, and they are an inspiration for me, and I'm trying to be an inspiration for others with everything that I do. Okay.
And if you're going to be re-elected, what is your main goal for the coming 5 years, if God wills?
With everything that I've learned here, to help this team of very strong candidates from the our list alliance that will be future members of the parliament, to teach them everything that I learned and to use this power as a leverage to do as much as I can, as much as we can for our country and for Europe.
But do you want to reach something that you can say, well, this is what we've done?
I would say what we need to do is to bring normality back in Europe, because what is happening right now with this neo-Marxist ideology that is spread all across Europe, and I see it through all these amendments and all these proposals of directives or regulations that are coming from the European Commission. It is mind-boggling. We just had a few weeks ago a vote in Brussels, for example, about the abortion as a fundamental right and to be included in the chapter of the fundamental rights. But I'm not going into that right now. But here's what that resolution states: women and other persons that are pregnant should have the right to abortion. So, okay, I understand the woman, but what other human being except a woman can get pregnant so that person could have a right to an abortion? So if we start changing and redefining objective terms and realities like being a man and being a woman, I mean, the hell is going to break loose, because we will not be able to communicate with each other. We will not be able to get along with each other. Yeah. I mean, imagine if, if the whole debate right now that we have in the parliament, even in the US, it's what is a woman? So as a society, in 2024, the main question is what is a woman? And you have candidates for certain offices that cannot define what a woman is anymore, but they always talk about women's rights. This is the best example and the biggest threat to women's rights. If any man who pretends to be a woman in the eyes of the law should be accepted as a woman, that means that a woman doesn't exist anymore. You know, with the natural rights that a woman has, right? So this is the kind of speech and message that we need to bring back in Europe. You know, bring back normality, bring back prosperity, and nevertheless bring back security, because we have a problem with the security of our borders, and nevertheless with the illegal migration, which is messing up Europe right now.
Okay, that's a good goal. We wish you the Lord blessings the coming
so
years, if He wills that you're going to be re-elected. Thank you very much, Mr. Terheș. Dit was Uitgelicht voor vandaag. Dank voor het kijken. Morgen dan zijn we er weer met een gewone uitzending. Vanuit Brussel nog een hele fijne avond. Vanuit Straatsburg nog een hele fijne avond. En graag tot dan. Dag.